a lot of people around the league, I think, would value Cade Cunningham over those guys. And if we were to do a
Absolutely.
redraft and put those people in the same position, I think they would have done the exact same thing the Pistons did.
Yeah, I mean, just we can't, hurt Cade or take a shot at Cade for going to the Pistons. Like the Pistons had the
Right.
number one pick for a reason. I get it's the lottery, but they weren't good. And this year, he still didn't have talent around him. He was the number one focus every single night defensively.
What is going on? I want to welcome you from Half Court for today, Sunday, July 17th, 2022. I'm your host, Sean Murphy, alongside my man, Jeff. Hi, Frady Jeff. Happy Sunday, another weekend here on the Woodward Sports Channel, man. It feels like home.
Yeah, and if people don't know already, we will be posting a YouTube video on the Woodward Sports page every single weekend. You get some from half court news. So I'm excited, man. We got another good topic today. I can't wait to get into it, man.
Yeah, without a doubt, man. And hey, if this is the first time you're stumbling upon Jeff and myself making contact together, we do that throughout the week on the From Half Court YouTube channel.
Mm-hmm.
So after this video, be sure you subscribe, head over there. And if you want to see more of Jeff and I not shutting up about basketball, that is what we do. And Jeff, we are here today because we got to talk about my guy. We got to talk about our guy Cade a little bit because there was some controversy and some outrage in the Pistons Twitter world over the last couple days. Now, I want to preface our conversation with I think everyone was overreacting. I'm just gonna come right out in the front. And even though I am a Detroit versus everybody type of mindset and type
Mm-hmm.
of person, I think this can be a pretty valuable lesson. So with that, let's get into it. So Jeff, there was some controversy yesterday over a series of articles being released by The Athletic. And specifically, what I'm referring to is Seth Partnow does an NBA player tiers project each and every single year. And what he does is he lists and ranks players based off of their value to a contending team, based off of the roles that they play, the contributions that they make currently. He does also factor like previous success into it as well. So generally speaking, when you look at his list, the younger guys really aren't the ones that are getting the benefit of the doubt. But I think what really caught people off guard was some of the players that ranked above Cade Cunningham. So specifically in this tier ranking, Cade was tier 4B, which in his group he calls the changing of the guards. So like he sees Cade as an up and coming promising player. Despite his struggles, he thought he did a lot of solid things to do. And he really is excited about what he can do with Jaden Ivey. But what caught people off guard was the fact that he was listed under players such as OG Anunoby, Jalen Brunson, Dorian Finney-Smith, Domantas Sabonis, Mikal Bridges, and even Andrew Wiggins and all sorts, even Desmond Bane. And obviously, Jeff, if you look at that in a vacuum, I can understand why it's easy to be upset. But when you first saw this ranking existed, what was the initial thought that went into your head? And what do you think is some of that hesitancy with Cade in the national media? Because I don't even think it's much hesitancy. I think he's giving him praise. I just think
Right.
also, I think he's ranking him solely off of what he did in year one.
And all those players you brought up, when people first hear it, it's shocking, but they're all 17 to 19 point scorers, all those guys. So
Right.
I get the tier he's in, and considering the fact he's a rookie, the team wasn't good this year. I mean, he played in 60 games. The narrative nationally isn't going to change, Sean, until the Pistons start winning, and that's the most important thing. And Cade understands that. Like him and Ashton talk about that a lot. So with my interpretation of it, a little shocked because you see the players who are ranked ahead of him. It got me. I'm not going to lie. The headline initially because they did a damn good job because it made me check it out. But again, if you're looking at it in reality, I'm not shocked. I get it. It's not based on projections. If we're going to have a list based on projections, I mean, really the only rookie besides MJ to put up 25, 5, and 5 deserves to be talked about. But I get it. For the totality of the season, the Pistons weren't that good. And Cade struggled for a part of that early on in the season due to coming off that ankle injury. So, yeah, I'm not too concerned about it, Sean. I can see why people would be frustrated, including me. When I first saw it, I was a little frustrated. But once you broke it down, you get into it, you get into the reasoning behind it. it's not as bad as it sounds, but I get
Yeah,
why. I mean, we're us Detroit fans, we've watched all 82 games of the Pistons season. Not
right.
everybody can say that. So we have a different perspective approaching guys like Cade or Sadiq. I mean, they're like our guys, especially Cade. He's our franchise player. So of course Pistons fans are going to be protective of him, but I could see why nationally he's not as, gassed up, as
Right.
opposed to Pistons fans.
The one thing that is interesting to me though is whenever people talk about Cade, is they're always like, he started out really rough, but and it's like they really still hang that over Cade, that like that first month really wasn't
Yeah.
the greatest thing. Yet I would argue it was really only like a stretch of like 9 or 10 games, and then he
Right.
got it figured out. So it's like one of those things where anytime like I hear that argument or like that, well, don't get me wrong, it didn't start the greatest. It doesn't matter what a player's
Yeah.
beginning of a rookie season is. That's when the adjustment point's supposed to be taking place anyways. So the other thing that
And
obviously
look how we
people are,
finished too. Look how we finished too.
yeah,
Yeah, that
exactly. Now the thing that'll probably get people riled up in this ranking as well is that there is the next tier up. He has Evan Mobley and Scotty Barnes. And obviously if we're looking solely in a vacuum, those players were able to contribute and have roles where they were able to contribute to winning because they were asked to do less.
right.
And even though I know that a lot of people really love to do well, if we were to redraft, because people are already saying that about this draft that happened 3
Which is
weeks ago.
ridiculous. Yeah.
Yeah. So for these kinds of conversations to have, like, I understand if solely off a vacuum, just off of one season, and if you're just to base it off of the consistency, why you would put Scotty Barnes and Evan Mobley above Cade. But a lot of people around the league, I think, would value Cade Cunningham over those guys. And if we were to do a
Absolutely.
redraft and put those people in the same position, I think they would have done the exact same thing the Pistons did.
Yeah, I mean, just we can't, hurt Cade or take a shot at Cade for going to the Pistons. Like the Pistons had the
Right.
number one pick for a reason. I get it's the lottery, but they weren't good. And this year, he still didn't have talent around him. He was the number one focus every single night defensively, and it's not his fault. Like, are we going to fault guys for the teammates around them? I don't agree with that part of it. But again, like to your point, he was technically third in the Rookie of the Year race. So if you want to, put it in a vacuum like that, to have Evan and Scotty in another tier, like again, nationally, I get it. But as a Pistons fan, I disagree with it completely. I think if you have a redraft and you're asking if you gave Cleveland, or maybe not Cleveland because Evan Mobley's the best fit, but even another team, that number one pick, Cade's the best player. I think over time, through their careers, I still project Cade to be the best player from this draft. But
Oh yeah.
like you said, and what we're hitting on in 1 year, it's hard to just make that argument. I mean, as Pistons fans, we can, but nationally, again, I don't get it because I'm not going to hurt a guy from the team he went to. But that's how it is nowadays. Rookie of the Year rankings, you have to win. That's bottom line. I think soon, national media is going to be kissing his butt because when the Pistons are on the map and he's a big part of it, they'll know. He just didn't.
Oh,
Unfortunately, he doesn't have the same teammates as Evan Mobley. He doesn't have the same teammates as Scotty Barnes. Like the fact that the Raptors were put into that young cores list and they were ranked higher than the Pistons. It's like Scotty Barnes and OG Anunoby, okay, but besides that, they have veterans. These guys are walking into better players that have experience in the league. So I'm not going to fault them for it, Sean, but I get it.
so I'm glad you brought that up because that was another thing that you brought to my attention that I didn't even realize that this is another piece that people are getting upset about. Apparently, do you want to tell people a little bit more about this ranking, about like this young cores list and specifically what people are upset about? Because apparently I'm going to do some research myself, see exactly where we rank. But I mean, Jeff, you know me, I'm pretty high on this Pistons young core, so it better be
Yeah,
pretty high on this list.
they were ranked 8th according to Bleacher Report on the. They did like
Oh, it's
10.
Bleacher Report? Oh,
And
okay, then
there
we're
you go.
fine. Listen, man, listen,
No, but
okay.
this is why I didn't understand the list. Memphis was number 1. Okay, that makes sense. I'm not gonna that's solid. Number 2, I can't remember, but from 2, 3, and 4, it was some questionable teams like Oklahoma City, Houston, Detroit were at the back end of that list. And the reason I guess I can understand it is those guys haven't touched the floor. Like we don't know what Chet looks like yet. Although I love their young core, Jay Ivey hasn't touched the floor yet. Jabari Smith hasn't touched the floor yet. Teams like the Celtics were rated as high as 4. But again, like these lists, They don't matter. And if anything, they're going to give Cade Cunningham even more motivation moving forward. And listen, I like that because Ashton's tweeting out they're working even harder. So whatever fuels them, man. I don't take too much out of these lists. They're just a bunch of bull anyway. Like I could go make a list right now and have the Pistons #1, put it on Woodward Sports. Like it doesn't matter.
Well, and even then, here's the thing. You want to see how quickly these lists can age pretty poorly. You're going back, and I'm looking at a ranking right now, and it's ranking the top 10 NBA young cores from last season.
Let's see it.
And at number 1 from Bleacher Report, this was their ranking going into last year. How'd that turn out, Jeff?
And I think they slid I think they're like 5 on this one. Correct me if I'm wrong, comment down below. But if I remember the list correctly, they're not #1. So things change.
How'd that list turn out, Jeff? Pretty darn well. They had Charlotte at 8. They're a pretty good young core, right? Oh, wait. So it's one of those things where, listen, man, I get, and a lot of it is, I think a lot of these lists, when you're looking at the top of the young core list, I think if hearing this ranking or hearing you discuss it with me, even that sounds like it's pretty reliant on who's winning right now. Right.
Exactly.
So I think with this Detroit young core, the reason why we're not seeing that respect yet, and even then we're seeing respect. We're seeing people put us on that list. We weren't even on the list last year. We weren't even in the conversation for years.
It's a start.
But, yeah, 100%. So the fact that we're even there is a good beginning. But looking at this list right now, okay, yep. So I'm seeing it. All right. So, all right, #1, Memphis Grizzlies. It's hard to argue that the Grizzlies don't have the best young core in the league. They do, right?
Yeah, they do.
All right. So it goes Grizzlies, Pelicans, Cavaliers.
Okay, the Pelicans, is Brandon Ingram, I guess if you're considering Tatum, then yeah, Brandon Ingram's a young core. I mean, we'll just leave
Brandon Ingram's 25. He's really young.
Yeah, but once you're like, that's like the bridge. Like you're like on the cusp of being now going into being a,
yeah, but like at the same time though, like with Brandon Ingram, like he's heading into the apex of his prime. Like you can argue with Brandon Ingram, if he keeps playing like this, he could probably be an all-star caliber player for another 9-10 years.
This isn't a shot on Brandon Ingram.
Oh no, I know. I'm just saying from the 8. Yeah, I know. I'm saying I disagree with you, but in all seriousness,
keep reading.
I know. I'm just kidding. But in all seriousness, like okay, so we got Memphis, New Orleans, Cleveland, Boston, Atlanta, and then Oklahoma City at 6. Here's the thing. I get why people are upset. And I'm about to get some hate in the comments. Where's the lie? I don't know. I don't know if I hate this list based off of where we're at right now,
Yeah, I can't, if the list is going from the oldest to the youngest, it makes sense. Like you're going from the guys who are older and have more experience in the league to the youngest. That makes sense. But again, it's how you define a young core. For me, I'm looking at 20 to 23. Like that's a young core, 18 to 23. Once you get 24, 25, it's like, yeah, you're young, and I guess it is still a young core, but I guess my ideology and these guys just don't match up. So
yeah, and if it looks like to them, a young core, they used the quantifier 25 or younger.
Okay. So, all right, then that's fair. That's fair.
Yeah, so it'll be players who will be 25 or younger on February 1st of the 2022-23 season. So it's a pretty big quantifier. And this isn't even ranking the projection of these young cores. This is just saying right where they're at right now. So if we see Jaden Ivey ball, if we see Cade Cunningham rise and get above these standings, like guys, we're not far from being ranked #1 on these lists in a couple years. Right. Like we're gonna be there. So I just think with where we're at right now, I understand why people are getting upset, but I would just be happy that we're in the conversation now because that's a step forward.
That's the glass half full. That's how you should look at it. I think people just get defensive because we know what we have. But again, guys, the fact that you're in these conversations is a positive. I would say that. And if the list is 25 and under, then yeah, it's correct. Like it's how you look at young cores and how other people look at young cores. 25 and below, I would say, yeah, you got the Pelicans, the Boston Celtics. But I think the Pistons in a couple years when Jaden Ivey has 1 or 2 seasons, Cade in his second, third, yeah, they're gonna be top of these lists. No doubt about it.
For sure. Now, Jeff, what are some takeaways that we can have from today's video? I think the first one, and this is a pretty big one that I'm going to give for Pistons Twitter. Are you ready? Read the damn article. That's my first takeaway. Like, if you ever see something and your gut reaction is like, ooh, you got to look in to actually see if that's what they're saying. You got to look into the context of the article because you go, oh, why in the world would he have Cade in this? And then you find out there's all these quantifiers, and then like he has to be facing like the North Pole at this certain angle on this certain day. Like when you add those types of things to the list, it's like, oh, okay, if that's what you're saying solely off of these parameters, I can understand your ranking. But then the second thing we have to learn is that while people are sleeping, we realize what's going on. And listen, they might be coming to the party now. They might be realizing that the party's happening, that the Pistons have something pretty exciting going on. That just means we're early to the party. And when they're here, we're going to be the ones that can read and sniff the BS. So with that, man, I understand the fact that people are upset. I think the Pistons are going to give people a lot of reason to rethink that list when this season comes up.
Mm-hmm.
So with that, what do you think of these rankings? Let us know in the comments section down below. Have you read either of these articles? That would be good to know too. But in all seriousness, be sure you follow my guy Jeff on Twitter at JeffIFRadio, myself at Sean Half Court. But with that, we want to thank you all so much for tuning in. Be sure you're also subscribing to Woodward Sports because we have the best content in Detroit sports in this damn state. So be sure you're subscribing to that. But with that, we want to thank you all so much for tuning in, and we will catch you guys next time from Half Court. Be sure to subscribe.